South Korean and Chinese leaders deliver a message at summit talks in Seoul. No nuclear development on the Korean Peninsula. Economic cooperation was another major agenda item at the bilateral talks. A direct won-yuan transaction market is in the works. And written confessions of former Japanese war criminals that conscripted Korean and Chinese women into sex slavery have been released to the public. Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Friday, July 4th. I'm Luke Clary. South Korean and Chinese leaders held summit talks in Seoul and expressed firm opposition to nuclear weapons development on the Korean Peninsula. The statement is being taken as a stronger warning directed at North Korea.
President Park Geun-hye held a summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping, who made his first state visit to Seoul since she took office. The two adopted a joint statement expressing firm opposition to any nuclear development on the Korean Peninsula.
오늘 회담에서 우리 두 정상은 북한의 비핵화를 반드시 실현하고 핵 실험에 결연히 반대한다는 데 뜻을 같이 하였습니다.
The words are believed to be directed at North Korea. Firm opposition is a stronger expression than serious threat, which was how the North's nuclear ambition was described in a Seoul-Beijing joint statement from June of last year.
우리가 공동 번영의 꿈이 북핵과 또 북한 문제라는 장애물의 직면에 있어서 안타깝게 생각합니다.
The two leaders also agreed the six-party talks process aimed at denuclearization peninsula must be steadily pursued, and the six nations must foster an environment conducive to resuming the stalled six-party dialogue.
成员国的共同利益，有关各方应该通过对话协商解决以上课题。
President Park also explained her Korean Peninsula trust-building process and our policy proposals for reunification. And President Xi Jinping positively evaluated Park's reunification endeavors. With the two leaders seeing eye-to-eye on North Korea's nuclear issue, pundits say the summit has paved the way for strategic cooperation between the two sides on denuclearizing Pyongyang.
South Korean and Chinese leaders have agreed to bolster bilateral economic cooperation by establishing a direct won-yuan transaction market. They also pledged to work toward concluding a free trade pact between the two nations within this year. President Park Geun-hye and her Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping have agreed to establish a currency swap market where the Korean won and the Chinese yuan can be exchanged directly.
양국 간 금융 인프라 구축에 큰 성과를 이룬 것을 기쁘게 생각합니다. 이를 계기로 양국 기업과 국민 간 거래가 보다 신속하고 자유롭게 이루어질 것으로 기대합니다.
The two leaders decided to designate a Seoul-based bank to handle transactions using the Chinese currency in Korea. So far, payments made with the yuan had mostly been conducted in Hong Kong. Korea will also be allowed to directly invest 80 billion yuan, or more than $12 billion in the Chinese stock market. The two heads of state agreed to work toward the signing of a bilateral free trade agreement within this year.
两国将一道努力，加大中韩自由贸易区谈判力度，争取在年底前结束谈判。
The second round of FTA talks between Korea and China is expected to gain pace. The negotiations had been stalled earlier due to differences on the scope of markets involving sensitive items. The two nations will also cooperate in controlling and preventing animal diseases such as foot and mouth disease. Korea and China have also agreed to continue talks on the development of the Saemangum Korea-China Economic Cooperation Complex and the Tuman River Development Initiative. North Korea-Japan relations appear to be noticeably improving as Tokyo has decided to lift some of its sanctions on Pyongyang for the first time in 8 years. Japan believes the North is sincerely addressing the issue of its abduction of Japanese people.
The key to the negotiations that have been underway between North Korea and Japan is that Japan will lift some of its sanctions on the North if the North resolves the Japanese abductees issue. The two sides narrowed opinions on this deal in May, and Japan has finally put out good news for the North.
日本が取ってきた一部の措置を解除することとしたいと思います。
Easing of sanctions is the first in 8 years since Tokyo slapped sanctions following the North ballistic missile launch in July 2006. Sanctions will be lifted on 3 particular areas: personnel exchange, money transfers to the North, and entry of North Korean vessels in Japan for humanitarian purposes. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe says that sanctions are lifted as a North Korean investigative committee formed to look into the abductees' matter is believed to be effective.
決断を意思決定をできる組織が前面に出るとかつてない体制ができたと。
Relations between the two sides could improve even more in the coming days, as in Abe making a trip to the north or the two sides making talks on normalizing bilateral diplomatic relations. However, Japan's latest move is expected to inevitably partially harm trilateral cooperative ties with South Korea and the U.S. regarding North Korea.
The written confessions of former Japanese war criminals about the forced conscription of Korean and Chinese women as sex slaves has been disclosed to the public. The disclosure is aimed at strengthening collaboration between Korea and China in tackling Japan's rightist moves.
This written confession of the Japanese war criminal Keiko Suzuki was disclosed by the State Archives Administration of China. The document says that the Japanese killed 2 Chinese farmers in June 1934 and by July 1945 murdered more than 5,000 Chinese citizens. The document goes on to say that in 1941 the Japanese set up a comfort women's camp in Anhui province and kidnapped 20 Korean and Chinese women to use them as sex slaves. This confession serves as further proof of Japan's forced conscription of so-called comfort women during World War II.
为了侵略军队之用，日军还设立了慰安所，引诱中国和朝鲜的妇女做慰安妇。
The document also goes on to say that the war criminals killed about 50 anti-Japanese soldiers using toxic gas. It describes how the Japanese killed even pregnant women and spread cholera in villages. The State Archives Administration of China will disclose one of the confessions written by 45 Japanese war criminals each day on the internet.
日本国内总有一些势力矢口否认日本发动侵略战争的性质和罪行，被起诉判刑的这个45个战犯。
The confessions were apparently disclosed in time for the Chinese president's visit to Korea in order to stress collaboration between Korea and China in countering Japan's rightist movements.
Buying foreign products via direct online shopping is a growing trend among Korean consumers. This market exceeded $990 million last year, but with the growing size, consumer damages are also on the rise. We take a look at some reported complaints and preventative measures you can take to protect yourself.
This person ordered a judo suit through a Japanese online shopping mall at $470. He asked that his name be embroidered on the clothes. But when he received it, totally different letters were printed onto the suit.
일본에는 없는 글자다. 자기네 측에는 이제 잘못이 없다. 일본으로 보내는 배송비를 결제를 하면은 3개는 주겠다. 2만 한 5천 원 정도 드니까.
According to a Korea Consumer Agency survey, some 40% of Koreans who directly bought products through a foreign online portal say they went through similar negative experiences. In most cases, 35% said they experienced product losses, wrong deliveries, or delivery delays. Some people could not return defective products or cancel the purchase.
해외에 있는 업체는 일단은 우리 국내법 적용이 안 됩니다. 해외 주요 국가와 어떤 협력 체계를 구축한다든지 하는 그런 공식적인 그 채널이 없습니다.
Therefore, it is safer to pay with a credit card on installment. The seller may just snatch the money with no product delivered or shut down the shopping mall site. The consumer agency will soon disclose information on comparisons made on direct purchase through foreign online shopping malls in terms of consumer satisfaction and complaints reported.
Hypothermia therapy played a crucial role in saving the life of Samsung chairman Park Geun-hye, who recently suffered a heart attack. Korean researchers have discovered for the first time in the world that hypothermia therapy also helps treat stroke.
This stroke patient is undergoing hypothermia therapy. The patient's body temperature is about 3 degrees below the normal level. Until recently, hypothermia therapy had only been effective in addressing heart attacks, but failed in treating stroke patients. Therapeutic hypothermia helps protect blood vessels and nerves, but it was ineffective in treating the brain, which is more sensitive than the heart. Researchers from Ajo University Hospital performed a new type of hypothermia therapy on 75 stroke patients. They found that after 3 months of treatment, the occurrence rate of cerebral edema in the patients decreased by half, while the incidence of additional cerebral hemorrhages was down to 1/3. The percentage of patients who were able to walk on their own also doubled. The researchers maximized the inhibitory effect of hypothermia on toxicity by inserting metal pins in the clogged vessels of the brain instead of administering medication.
신경 보호 효과는 최대한으로 하면서 그것에 따른 부작용을 줄일 수 있었던 게 주요했던 것 같습니다. 1도씩 그 온도가 낮아질 때마다 우리 몸에서 받는 부담은 굉장히 커질 수밖에 없습니다.
The discovery has received recognition for its successful treatment of stroke victims and was published in the latest edition of the world-renowned journal, Stroke.
The temperatures may be climbing well over 30 degrees in parts of Korea, but at the Korean people's sacred Baekdu Mountain, you'll still find snow and other vestiges of winter. Here's a look at the majestic and mysterious mountain.
Summer may have arrived in all parts of Korea, but winter seems to be lingering in the sacred Baekdu Mountain. We follow the road lined with the soaring birch trees. As the morning sun emerges over the darkening clouds, Cheonji, a caldera atop the volcanic mountain, reflects the sky on its surface framed by surrounding peaks. Cheonji of Baekdu Mountain. Cheonji symbolizes the national unification, a long-standing desire for both South and North Korea.
백두산을 그 웅장하고 장엄함을 그 카메라에 담을 때 동쪽 그 백두봉에 올라서 백두산을 볼 수 있는 그날을 기원해 봅니다.
The roaring waterfall with all its might represents the Korean people's existence and growth that is so resilient and powerful. Columbine flowers, lilium flowers, and daylilies, these are Korea's indigenous wildflowers. See the alpine roses blossoming all over the field. Baekdu Mountain in itself is one big flower garden. Hikers climb the mountain via the routes of the Chinese side. Koreans are longing for the day when we can climb up to Cheonji from the North Korean side of Baekdu Mountain.
The Korean cultural world seemed to have come to a standstill following the tragic ferry accident in April, but now vocalists are returning to the stage and their concerts are being sold out, rejuvenating the performing arts industry.
Tickets to K-pop male trio JYJ's concert next month sold out in just 20 minutes. The large-scale concert is to be held in the 20,000-seat Jamsil main stadium, but the ticket vendor site was flooded with JYJ fans looking to purchase their tickets. Other musicians are enjoying renewed enthusiasm as well. The national concert tour of G.O.D, with all of its members reunited after 12 years, and vocalist Lee Seung-hwan's concerts have all been sold out. The Superplex G screen in Lotte Cinema World Tower, to be opened in the second Lotte World building in Seoul, was named the world's largest screen in a ceremony attended by officials of the Guinness World Records. This movie screen measures 34 meters across and 13.8 meters high. It's installed in a 2-story theater with 622 seats. Record albums featuring the music used in figure skating champion Kim Yeon-a's programs have sold 100,000 copies. The 4 albums include Fairy on the Ice, released in 2008, and The Queen on Ice, and also contain some of Kim's favorite songs.
Self-service is a common practice in modern society, now spreading to unusual fields. Self-service stores attract customers by offering a chance to have unique and fun experiences at lower prices. Here's more.
First, we're going to take you to a hot restaurant. People from across the nation are dining at the restaurant. What's the reason for its popularity? Here, people fish what they will eat. Customers borrow fishing poles and head for a pond next to the restaurant. They cast their hooks into the water, hoping to catch big fish. With expectant looks, they're waiting to hook something. Finally, fish start taking the bait. Here and there, fishers reel in their fishing poles to pick up their catches. They're so occupied with fishing, they sometimes forget that they're here for a meal. The moments are all the more special because they're here with their families.
가족들이 함께 할 수 있는 시간이 많이 부족하잖아요. 그래서 똑같은 먹거리를 하더라도 가족이 함께 할 수 있는 그런 먹거리가 없을까 해서 이제 저희가 적용을 하게 됐고, 잡아온 고기를 저희 직원한테 안내를 갖다 주시면 이제 구워 드시거나 아니면 매운탕을 해서 드실 수 있도록 도와드리고 있습니다.
They're served with a hot pot of fish stew. It doesn't look extraordinary, but they find it to be the best fish stew ever since it was made with what they caught. A restaurant's foremost job is to offer good food. This self-service restaurant satisfies both fun seekers and gourmets at lower prices. It's no surprise that the restaurant has become a hit. Next, we're going to a place which would never be thought to be a self-service store. This place is good enough to satisfy picky women. The beauty shop is attracting customers with a unique marketing strategy. Customers all serve themselves here without the attendance of staffers.
저희들은 셀프 마사지실이어서요. 고객님들께서 직접 하시고요. 혹시 필요하실 때 제가 도와드리고 있어요.
This is a self-service beauty shop where customers do skincare themselves. The women massage themselves by following the handy tips offered on site. The costs are half those at full-service skincare shops, but you can have an expert's help when you need it. In Insadong, Seoul, there's another unique self-service shop. This self-service photo studio is especially popular among foreigners, with a wide variety of hanbok and traditional accessories prepared. It takes just $19 to borrow a set of hanbok and take photos.
전 세계 분들이 다 많이 이용을 해주시는데 특히 아시아권에서 많이 오세요.
Some 500 sets of hanbok are prepared here. A Chinese tourist is in trouble. She has to choose only one among the hundreds of beautiful outfits. She finally makes a choice, and she does look good in hanbok. After changing into the traditional Korean clothing, customers capture themselves freely. With a professional photographer on hand, they can take more natural, funny photos. It looks like they sure enjoy the self-service photo shoot. Having had unique experiences here, the foreign tourists will bring unforgettable memories with them back home. Self-service has become a lucrative model for businesses to attract customers.
Now we'll take a look at the markets, followed by the world weather. And that's it for this edition of News Today. We'll see you again on Monday. Have a great weekend.